Hey, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Today, I'm going to share with you one of the most terrifying stories I've ever come across. This is the story of Kehar, a tale that will make you question everything you thought you knew about the supernatural world. So make sure you're in a comfortable spot, maybe turn on some lights, and let's dive into this chilling narrative that has haunted an entire village for generations. Before we begin, if you enjoy horror content like this, please hit that subscribe button and ring the bell so you never miss out on our spine-tingling stories. And if you're brave enough to make it through this entire video, drop a comment below telling me what scared you the most. All right, let's get started. The story of Kehar begins in a remote village nestled deep in the mountains, far away from the hustle and bustle of city life. This village, which I'll call Dharampur for the sake of this story, was home to about 300 families who lived simple lives, farming the land and taking care of their livestock. The villagers were close-knit. Everyone knew everyone, and they looked out for each other like one big family. But beneath this peaceful exterior, there was something dark, something ancient that lurked in the shadows. The elders of the village would often speak in hushed tones about Kehar. They said Kehar was not just a spirit or a ghost, but something far more sinister. Kehar was a curse, a manifestation of pure evil that had been bound to the village for over 200 years. According to the legends, Kehar was once a powerful tantric who practiced dark magic in the forests surrounding the village. He would perform forbidden rituals, sacrificing animals and sometimes even humans to gain supernatural powers. The tantric's name was actually something else, but over time, people began calling him Kehar, which roughly translates to chaos or devastation in the local dialect. And that's exactly what he brought to anyone who crossed his path. He lived alone in a dilapidated hut deep in the forest, and villagers would sometimes hear strange chanting and screams coming from that direction, especially on new moon nights. One day, a young couple from the village went missing. They had gone to collect firewood from the forest and never returned. A search party was organized, and what they found was absolutely horrifying. The couple's bodies were discovered near Kehar's hut, arranged in a ritualistic pattern, their faces frozen in expressions of absolute terror. But that wasn't the worst part. Their hearts had been removed from their bodies. The villagers were furious and terrified at the same time. They knew Kehar was responsible, and they decided that enough was enough. A mob of angry villagers, armed with whatever weapons they could find, marched to Kehar's hut. But Kehar was prepared. He had anticipated their arrival and had set up a final, terrible ritual. As the villagers approached, Kehar stood outside his hut, chanting in a language none of them understood. His eyes had turned completely black, and a dark aura seemed to emanate from his body. The villagers tried to attack him, but an invisible force kept pushing them back. Kehar laughed maniacally and declared that even if they killed him, he would never truly die. He said he would bind his spirit to this land, and he would torment the villagers and their descendants for generations to come. The village priest, a learned man who knew some counterspells, stepped forward. He began chanting mantras and threw sacred ash at Kehar. A fierce supernatural battle ensued, with Kehar's dark magic clashing against the priest's holy incantations. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the priest managed to weaken Kehar enough for the villagers to overpower him. They tied him up and set his hut on fire with him inside it. As the flames consumed him, Kehar let out a blood-curdling scream that echoed through the entire valley. He cursed the village one final time, saying that every generation would face his wrath and that he would return to claim innocent souls. The villagers watched as the hut burned to the ground, hoping that this would be the end of their nightmare. But it was only the beginning. In the days following Kehar's death, strange things began to happen in the village. Animals would die mysteriously, crops would fail overnight, and people would report seeing a dark figure wandering the village streets after midnight. The figure was described as tall and shadowy, with glowing red eyes that could be seen even in complete darkness. Whenever someone saw this figure, misfortune would befall their family within days. The village priest tried various rituals to cleanse the village, but nothing seemed to work permanently. The curse of Kehar had taken root, and it grew stronger with each passing year. The priest eventually concluded that Kehar's spirit was too powerful to be completely eliminated. The best they could do was contain it and appease it through regular offerings and prayers. Thus began a tradition that continued for 2 centuries. Every new moon night, the villagers would gather at the spot where Kehar's hut once stood. They would light oil lamps, burn incense, and offer food and flowers. They believed that if they kept Kehar's spirit satisfied, it would leave them alone. And for the most part, this seemed to work. As long as the rituals were performed regularly, the village remained relatively peaceful. But about 20 years ago, something happened that changed everything. A new family moved into the village from the city. They were educated, modern people who didn't believe in such superstitions. The family consisted of a husband named Rajesh, his wife Meera, and their 10-year-old daughter, Priya. Rajesh had inherited his ancestral home in the village and decided to move there for a quieter life. When the villagers told them about Kehar and the monthly rituals, Rajesh laughed it off. He said these were just old wives' tales meant to scare children. Meera was a bit more open-minded, but she too found it hard to believe in ghosts and curses. They refused to participate in the monthly rituals, much to the dismay of the other villagers. For the first few weeks, everything seemed fine. Rajesh started working on renovating his old house. Meera began teaching at the village school, and Priya made friends